The sun dipped behind the ivy-covered walls of Harvard's oldest lecture hall, throwing long shadows across the grand wooden benches filled with some of the brightest young minds in America. They sat hunched over notebooks, tablets, and steaming cups of overpriced coffee, their eyes fixed on Professor Alden Clark as he paced in front of the blackboard. Clark, a tall man with silver hair and a tweed jacket, tapped a piece of chalk against the board like a maestro ready to conduct a symphony of impossibility. The equation behind him was no ordinary puzzle. It had been lifted from the margins of an unsolved theory that mocked mathematicians for decades. Clark loved reminding his students that some things were simply impossible. Tonight, he intended to prove it, live on camera. Local news reporters huddled near the back, their cameras focused on the famous professor's every move. A few seats near the exit were empty, except for a boy whose feet barely touched the ground. 9-year-old Liam Carter sat with his legs swinging, sneakers scuffed and mismatched laces dangling. He wasn't supposed to be there. His mother, Angela Carter, worked as a night janitor at Harvard. Most evenings, Liam did his homework in the corner while she vacuumed corridors and emptied trash cans. But tonight, Liam had slipped away and found himself drawn to the glow of the hall and the low hum of a curious crowd. He loved numbers, not the way his classmates did, fumbling through worksheets at school. For Liam, numbers danced. They whispered secrets when no one else listened. He leaned forward now, tracing the equation with his finger in the air, seeing patterns where others saw confusion. Angela peeked in through the door, horrified to find her son in the back row of one of the world's most prestigious lecture halls. She started to call out, but her voice caught when she saw his face. Wide-eyed, focused, as if the rest of the room didn't exist. Up front, Clark's voice boomed. He spun toward the audience, chalk dust drifting like snowflakes from his sleeve. "I want you all to understand," he said, his tone dripping with authority. "This problem has defeated entire generations of scholars. Entire textbooks have been written about why it cannot be solved." A few students laughed, jotting down every word. Clark thrived on that sound, the hush of awe. He gestured to the blackboard, symbols sprawling edge to edge. "If you can solve this tonight, I'll hand over my credentials and resign on the spot," he said. The students chuckled, but the reporters perked up. A headline sparkled in the making. In the back, Liam's curiosity turned to a spark. He didn't know why, but the longer he stared, the clearer it became. A skipped variable here, a missed connection there. To him, the whole thing looked like a puzzle, missing only a few honest pieces. He slipped off the bench, his sneakers landing with a soft squeak that drew a glance from a girl nearby. She rolled her eyes at the sight of a child among future world leaders. Angela's eyes widened. She hissed, "Liam, sit down!" But the boy didn't hear her. He ducked past a row of shocked students, tiny shoulders brushing knees and messenger bags as he made his way toward the professor. Gasps rose like ripples on water. Clark turned just as Liam stepped into the pool of light at the front. The chalk paused mid-air. Murmurs echoed through the hall, mixing with the click of camera shutters. Liam pointed at the board with a shy finger. "I think you forgot something," he said, voice so soft that the microphone barely caught it. Clark stared down at him, eyes narrowing behind wire-rimmed glasses. The room tensed, 100 eyes flicking between the world-famous professor and the boy in a faded T-shirt. Angela stood frozen at the door, her heart pounding louder than the silence that swallowed the hall whole. And without waiting for permission, Liam stepped forward, reaching for the chalk that moments ago seemed to belong to giants. Liam's small hand trembled slightly as he grasped the chalk, leaving a faint white dust on his fingertips. The room held its breath. Even the old fluorescent lights seemed to hum a little louder, as if curious themselves. Professor Clark's eyes narrowed, his lips parting to protest, but no words came. He was too stunned and a little too proud to swat the boy away like an annoying fly. Angela pressed her palm to her chest, feeling her heart hammer as if it would burst through her uniform. She wanted to run up and pull her son back, to save him from the humiliation that was sure to come. But something in Liam's eyes, that calm, steady focus, pinned her feet to the polished floor. Liam studied the sprawl of symbols, numbers, and notations. For him, they weren't walls, they were stepping stones. He wiped a tiny corner of the board clear and started rewriting a piece of the equation. The chalk squeaked under his tiny grip. Whispers floated through the lecture hall like falling leaves, students leaning into each other. Smartphones lifted to capture every second. "Is this a prank?" someone muttered. "Who let a kid up there?" another whispered. But then they fell silent again because the kid wasn't just doodling, he was working. Methodically, line by line, Liam erased a redundant loop that had stumped Clark's demonstration. He balanced a fraction that should have cancelled out, not multiplied. He filled in a missing condition that even the graduate students hadn't caught. Each mark connected the next like stars, linking into constellations. Clark hovered, mouth partly open, glasses slipping down his nose. He leaned closer, reading over Liam's shoulder. For the first time in his storied career, he found himself not explaining, but learning. Angela's vision blurred with tears. She didn't dare wipe away. Reporters scrambled to get closer shots. The beam of their camera lights made Liam's face glow against the dusty blackboard. After what felt like an eternity, though it was only 10 minutes, Liam stepped back. He turned to Clark with innocent honesty, voice calm but shy. "I think it works now," he said. Clark moved in. Pushing his glasses up with trembling fingers, he checked the lines, checked again. He began mumbling to himself, following Liam's scribbles, tracing them with the back of his hand like a man seeking an answer in Braille. When he reached the final symbol, he froze. A tiny, choked laugh escaped his throat. He spun to the packed hall, voice cracking through the silence. He did it," Clark said. "He just solved it." A beat of stunned quiet. Then it shattered. Gasps, claps, the rustle of bodies leaning in disbelief. A student near the front dropped her pen, and it clattered down the steps like a starter's pistol. The whole room erupted in cheers and astonished laughter. Angela stumbled forward, caught in a wave of well-wishers who patted Liam's shoulders or took selfies from a distance. The boy's cheeks flushed crimson, but he just looked up at his mother with a shy grin. She sank to her knees and hugged him tight, not caring who saw the tears streaking her tired face. Professor Clark raised his arms to quiet the chaos, his pride and ego melting into genuine wonder. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, his voice echoing off the old wooden beams, "tonight, Harvard was humbled by a boy who simply loves numbers." A local news anchor caught the final shot. Liam standing in front of the blackboard, chalk dust on his hands, his mother's arm wrapped around him. Behind them, the once impossible problem glowed under bright lecture hall lights. Not a dead end, but a solved puzzle. Outside the hall, under the sprawling campus trees, students gathered in clusters, retelling what they'd seen like a legend already growing bigger than life. Angela held Liam's hand the whole way home, her son's head resting against her side, his eyes finally drooping from exhaustion. The genius who reminded the world that sometimes the smallest hands hold the answers everyone else gave up on.